right, everyone, welcome to our second annual Career Navigator Summit. I'm Courtney Flickwer, the Senior Community and Events Manager for PreSales Collective, and we're so excited to have everyone here with us today. As people still join, drop in where you're tuning in from, what you're excited about today. Today is all about you, whether you're in the middle of a job search, thinking about what's next, or here just to re-energize and refocus, you are in the right place. We have put together a fantastic half-day event full of real conversations, practical insights with pre-sales professionals, hiring managers, and career experts. A few quick housekeeping items for everyone. All sessions are live and being recorded, so you will get those recordings after this event. Please use the chat throughout the day to connect with each other, share ideas, share insights. But if you have questions, please use the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen, as every session has about 10 to 15 minutes at the end of each session for live Q&A. Also, be sure to set your chat settings to everyone, not just hosts and panelists, so we can all see what you have to say. And finally, I want to give a big thank you to our friends at Reprise for partnering with us on today's event. Their support helps bring these experiences to our community, and we just love our partnership with them. To officially kick off the summit, I'm excited to hand things over to Chris Mabry, VP of Solutions and Partnerships at Reprise. Some of you may already know him, as he has been a longtime member. He was a general manager at PSC not too long ago, and he's a huge supporter of our community. So I will hand it off to you, Chris.
Thank you so much, Courtney. It is good to be back, and I'm so excited to dive into this. These summits are part of my favorite part of having ran Pre-Sales Collective, but now being a member and a supporter of the community. So we're here to break down tons of stuff. I'm going to talk on a panel about building your personal brand. First step about building your personal brand, this is the first hot tip, which is share the fact that today you're investing in your own growth. No matter where you are on the spectrum of your own journey, whether you're really happy with where you're at, whether you're in the market, share the fact that you are joining this and attending these sessions. So take a screenshot of people talking. Try to get me if I'm smiling, not when I'm looking weird, which is hard to do. But take a screenshot of people talking. Do it on LinkedIn. Share it with your team, right? Invest like you've come. I would ask you to put the phone down because you've made it, and just give yourself that extra 2% to take some notes, connect with the speakers. You'll want to make use of your time. I'm going to start by throwing my LinkedIn into the chat. So I'm going to lead by example. I would love for everybody here to connect. So please share your LinkedIn, connect with me. Let's connect on LinkedIn. Let's keep the conversation going. Okay. So I'm so excited to be here with you guys. Again, I'm now a VP of Solutions at Reprise, and I'm joining right after this to join our first panel. So the summit's coming at a really important time. We're all shifting and navigating this new landscape, right? There's AI, there's changing expectations, there's tighter budgets. It can be super hard to figure out how to stand out, how to tell your story, how to grow when the path, especially like when the path feels uncertain, as it has the couple of years, right? And macroeconomics are changing. But today, that's what it's all about, right? It's about hearing from real people who've been through these pivots before. We're sharing things, we're asking great questions. We're going to talk about resumes, branding, storytelling, reframing your experience as a strategic advantage. And I also want to encourage you to start talking about your wins. All right. At Reprise, we're proud to sponsor this event because we believe strongly in the value of pre-sales as a profession. This is the best profession in the world. It has given me an experience in life that I could never imagine. I am so thoroughly invested in pre-sales as a space and as a profession, and I'm just blessed to have the Reprise in my back, being able to support and sponsor these things. What Reprise does is we basically build tools to help scale pre-sales genius is what I call it. So the truth is you're already doing the great work in pre-sales, but you need to not be the bottleneck for giving really great technical demonstrations. So Reprise basically gives you the ability to enable sales, SDRs, product marketers to go and do that themselves, meet the buyers where they're at. I love that problem. It's like a real sticky problem to solve, and it's why I came to this company, because I really want to help enable other pre-sales leaders. So I encourage you, lean in today. These sessions, they're packed. These people are great. I would like to work with every one of them. So please take notes, ask questions, leave with something that you can act on, even if it's just one thing. So thanks again for being here. With that, let's dive into our first session and I'll hand it over to Miriam.
So welcome to the first session of the day, authentic self-promotion, building your brand without feeling like an imposter, which so many of us do, right? Please join me in welcoming our wonderful panelists for the day. We've got our host, Miriam Graff, SC Director and Manager, most recently at Rippling, Karthik Krishna, Sales Engineer at Bicycle AI, Chris Mabry, who you just met, and Logan O'Neill, Solutions Consultant at Blink. I'm going to hand it over to you, Miriam. I am so excited. No pressure as the first panel of the day. Just kidding.
No. Great. Well, thank you so much. I want to thank PSC and Reprise for hosting this summit when so many of us are looking for our next step, whether it's a new job or how to enhance our careers in our current job. So very timely topic. And we've had already great introduction and we have really good panelists and great questions. So we're just going to jump right in. So personally, when I got laid off in 2023 and started working with a recruiter, the first question he asked me was, what's your personal brand? And honestly, I was thinking, what even is that? I'm not even sure what that is. So let's just start with defining some terms. What does personal brand mean to you, having one? So Logan, let's start with you.
Yeah, for me, I think a lot about a personal brand being your reputation. So it's something that is identifiable and differentiated. I think it's always also growing and evolving, but should be grounded in your values, because those should generally stay with you throughout your career, your values, what you hold most true. So I think thinking about what makes you unique, what is your why, and what do you stand for can help inform what your personal brand is.
Yeah, I love that. Getting to the authentic you. Karthik, what about you?
Yeah, so for me, it's something that Logan mentioned as well, right? So if I were to add to it, uh, as an individual for you, you know what your capabilities are and what you can do, right? So does the broader world or does the outside world know the same, right? So to that to me is the personal brand. Do people know you well as you know you, right? So that is to me the personal brand that you would want to build.
So letting your own personality kind of shine through. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And Chris, let's hear from you.
Yeah, both of you really smart insights, and I love the idea of going with your values, Logan, because we can all think of like marketing ourselves in the wrong way here. And that's what I want to focus on, which is like, it's not about crafting an image. It's about being intentional with strengths, making sure the right people understand what you're capable of. I truly believe everybody has a superpower. Like out of the list of things we do in pre-sales, it's long, right? But there's pieces of it that you're really good at. Do other people know that's your superpower? That to me is what a personal brand is. It's just basically having other people understand your superpower.
Yeah, that's great. And a way to do that, I know a recruiter said to me, create something called a personal value proposition. Like write down what is it that you are uniquely good at and what makes you you and why you're a best fit for a role. And so that really stuck with me and has been a great way to move forward. Let's see. So Logan and Karthik, both of you are fairly new in your roles, and even Chris, you changed roles within the last year. And personally, I had to search for two new roles in the last 3 years, and what I perceived as no fault of my own. So a lot of people are going through things like that. How did you develop your personal brand, and how did that brand or storytelling help you in landing these new roles that you're in? Logan, let's start with you again, because that worked well.
Sounds good. So in terms of how I developed my personal brand, I was actually inspired by a consumer brand. I was on the Alabama women's rowing team and I got a backpack heading into my senior year that had a little marketing slogan on it that said, "Go anywhere and always bring your best." Nike. Little cheeky saying that Nike is the best. But I took the first part of that, go anywhere and always bring your best, and really brought that into my personal brand and added on and then get better. So go anywhere, always bring your best, and then get better or do better, whether that's making a company better, making a community better. So that is how I developed a bit of my personal brand, taking inspiration from a very well-known consumer brand. And in terms of how storytelling assisted me in landing my new role, I think having a lot of information gathering, being informed about what's going on in the industry, having a perspective and having a passion for the work you will do and a connection to why you want to do it really helped me tell the story around why I wanted to work for Blink.
I think employers really appreciate you having a perspective, right? They want someone who's going to bring an advisory role as well as just, technical knowledge. So love that. Karthik, how
Sure.
about you?
So for me, storytelling actually played a very big part in my job hunt, I would say, because at probably 6, 7 months back, I was actually looking to make a pivot in my career, both in terms of the role as well as the type of industry that I would want to sell to, right? So that required a lot of basics, I would say, in terms of how I networked with people, uh, how I got in touch with them either through Slack or LinkedIn. And so for me, back then, personal brand was something that wasn't there for me. So literally, I had to build it ground up, right? I'm continuing to build, to be honest. So it's just connecting with people, making sure that whenever you're sharing something, the right people see what you share, right? It's not only about you connecting one-on-one, but also making sure whatever you share reaches the right pair of eyes, right? So that is how I built it. Plus, like I said, storytelling was a huge part since I had to pivot. Of course, resume carried some weightage, but the real conviction is actually delivered only through storytelling. And that has been my experience.
I love what you said about sharing. We're going to talk more about that later, like how do you get the message to the right people? But
Yeah,
um, and people do respond to stories. It's much more interesting to hear something that happened as opposed to something that was prior.
100%.
Chris, what do you have to say on this topic?
So 2 years ago, I was leading pre-sales teams at a really cool company, and I think I had identified my superpower, and I had built some really cool stuff on scaling pre-sales. But what I did is I went to a website, and I'm going to link it in the chat for everyone to know where this is. I went to the Pre-Sales Collective website. Maybe this was about 4 years ago now. I don't know. I'm turning 40, and I feel like time is so different. 4 years might as well be 4 months. I have no idea. Um, I went to this website and I said, I want to contribute. I want to build my brand. I want to share because I felt vulnerable doing it, but I felt like I wanted to give a lot of people access to what I was building. Um, and and this started a three-prong approach for me. So my first prong is meet people in person or virtually at events. That's your first thing you can do. The second piece is identify your superpower and lean into that. The third piece is track your work and ensure that your impact is being recognized. And I basically started that approach using the Pre-Sales Collective as a place for me to invest in my personal development or my professional development. Now, this all of this led to my role at Reprise because I was heavily invested in solving the problems that this organization is designed to solve well before joining the company. And when I came to the organization, it was like, oh, I find problems that I want to fix, and I literally and I approach jobs like that. I'm like, I want to fix this problem, or I know I could make an impact, and I know that I could grow. So I look at jobs really differently than just like the open application. I think of the problem to solve, and I think if my superpower connects with that problem, then I'll likely have a good time.
Yeah, I love what you said about, you were already working on the thing that you got hired in for at the next job. I think, when you start taking things on and doing things that are at the next level, then it becomes natural to move you to that level. I think that's how I personally got promoted. And just in terms of talking about yourself and your brand, I was networking, looking for a job, chatting with someone who didn't even have an opening. And we just totally hit it off through that personal value prop I was talking about. And next thing you know, he created a job for me. So sometimes it's just being able to speak well about the things you do and have it match to a problem that that company is actually working on. So when
Totally.
those
You know what
things
what I
transpire.
say on that, Miriam, is like connect on purpose and with purpose. Don't just network. Don't think of networking as like a side thing you have to do at work. You can make these relationships last for years. I mean, I've had interviews with people I didn't get the job, but I'm still connected with them because we hit it off, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. You don't know where your influence is going to come from. I had somebody I talked to 6 months ago who wrote me the other day just to say, hey, I got a job. I wanted to let you know and thank you for helping me when I was at a time when I really needed it. And I didn't honestly even remember speaking with him. So it's just things happen naturally when you just have conversation, which is great.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Logan or Karthik, anything else on this topic before we go to the next question?
No, I think
Okay.
Chris and you put it very well.
Yeah. Okay, so we're talking about speaking about the things that we do well, and this is something you have to develop over time. At first, it's kind of a little bit uncomfortable. So I want to ask when you started to get comfortable really talking about your own impact, and what changed or made you realize how important that was to do. So, Karthik, let's start with you this time.
Sure. So for me, it was a little different, right? For me, it was like a now or never situation, which I probably wouldn't recommend to anyone, right? So for me, it was more of questions about, I mean, a lot of us are aspirational, right? And some of us always question why aren't we moving as fast as we should be in our career, right? So like what's blocking us, what's stopping us? So that was the critical point where I felt that probably that's the time I will have to start working on my personal brand, because a lot of times that personal brand is, at least for me, it was just that one missing piece that didn't probably propel me, I would say. But I think those are the times when you retrospect and see that actually makes you think how important personal brand is. But like I said, I don't recommend that for every anyone, right? So if you are there, if you're aspirational, just don't wait for anything, right? But yeah, we'll talk about that. Probably I'm just getting too ahead. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay. Logan?
Yeah, I really like how Karthik framed what's blocking you, what is stopping you from talking about your impact. And for me, what I found was the lack of performance-based metrics. What makes me really confident talking about my experience and the impact I've made is having those concrete numbers, evidence to back it up. So when I was either light on those types of numbers or performance-based metrics, I would practice telling stories about specific examples where I made a positive impact to help get more comfortable telling that story. I definitely recommend recording impact as it happens. So you have like a go-to story bank of when you've done really good things, and incorporate feedback from colleagues into the story bank. I think one of the easiest ways or most prominent ways is when a colleague tells you good job, as an indicator of, yeah, this could be something worthwhile to tell a story about. How did I get to that good job from a colleague? What impact did I make? And then I also recommend asking in interviews, especially earlier in your career, how will your performance be measured? What are the key metrics and what systems are in place at that company to track those? Because at least for me, and I think, people want that one-liner on a resume in terms of the impact you've made. If it's quantifiable, even better, since you can't always tell a whole story on a resume. So set yourself up for success in that regard by asking what metrics you're going to get from a company that you're joining.
That's great. Pre-sales people we're analytical. And so having the numbers makes it a lot easier to talk about because that's something we're used to doing. So love that answer. Chris, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, Logan, I don't know what to add to that. That was amazing. I love the idea of adding like the anecdotes to the stuff that you're recording because it's almost like the reviews on Amazon, right? It's like, no, don't take my word for it. Like the rest of the company thought so too. Like I started my career in engineering. So I started in tech and I worked in a basement and I was a network engineer. And when I honestly, I think when I started to realize my impact was when I realized how much money the company was making. And when I realized how much we were doing to impact that dollar amount, that's when I was like, oh, you know what? I've got to change I've got to get closer to the revenue. I have to change my approach. Being a network engineer was not really suited to my personality anyway, but I started to tie what I did to revenue, and I started to learn the business acumen to tell the right story. And I feel like the moment I was able to, I was able to articulate, like not only just like our activities or our more tactical work to revenue, I was more comfortable talking about it because it kind of told the story by itself, right? So like learn about how your company makes money and learn about how much you're impacting that revenue. That to me was like the key that unlocked my ability to go talk to my leadership and tell them about my influenced revenue and how proud I was to help the company grow.
Yeah, that's great. All this talk about metrics, I want to keep this to having the panelists talk, but I have two quick stories on this particular question. One of the things that I learned in my previous job was we created Slack channels for each employee. So as a leader, every time someone got a positive comment from a colleague or they contributed in a special way to a deal and where we could write down the amount or there was some metric that they excelled in, we put it in that channel. And it was so exciting at the end of a period, whether it was a quarterly review or just whatever, to look back at all the great things that they did. So you forget if you don't write it down right away. So I agree with Logan, like keep track, write this down. And then you also feel very much better about yourself as you're reviewing these things. So you're like, wow, I did all this stuff, which is really great. And then we talked about kind of what changed when you started feel good talking about yourself. I got encouragement from a really great manager and leader early in my career to apply for a role, a management role, really before I was ready. But what that person said was, this will put you on the radar so people will start thinking about you in that way when future opportunities that come up that are right for you. So you have to talk about yourself and you have to be the one to promote your own interests and future goals because people won't know unless you tell them. And so that really stuck with me. People don't know unless you tell them. So I think that's really important to internalize. So on the more tactical side of that, how do we do that? How do we share wins, share things without sounding arrogant or boastful, and balance that kind of natural humility with self-promoting, honestly? That's a tough thing. So Logan, let's hear your thoughts about that.
I think whenever you are looking to share a win, making sure you're grounded in gratitude for even having the opportunity to contribute in such a way is one of the things that I like to do. I also like to acknowledge others that contributed to the win. There's always somebody that either set you up for the win, that assisted with the win, that was a co-leader with you in the win. So always acknowledging who else contributed, and then showcasing the positive impact. So I think when you share a win, if you can showcase the positive impact and even more the how-to of how you got to the win so it can help others, all of those things can really come together to make sharing that win both valuable for yourself and building that personal brand, but valuable for others as well.
Yeah, I think when we can think about these things as a way to help others learn, that makes it easier to go on and talk about what we did that was good.
I like that a lot, Logan. I think though, my spicy hot take here is we also, as pre-sales people, it's hard for us to take the credit. It's hard for us to say, I did that thing because we're always like, no, it's a team effort. We have our sellers, we have our marketers, we have our BDRs, we have all these people to think. But what I would say is, um, it depends on when and where you're sharing the win. If it's in a one-on-one with your manager, that may be a time to where you say, I was the one who spearheaded this thing. You're not going to say that on a Slack with everybody or a Teams with everybody on in the company, right? Um, But I heard from a manager I had really loved to work for, and he said, uh, while I'm here at this company, it's all of us. We did everything. We did everything. But the moment I leave this company, I did everything. I did everything. And it was a really funny way to say that you have to take the credit at some point, and it's really difficult for us as humans to do that. It was really hard for me to do that. So the way I will share how I got around this was I created this. See, here I am. I'm using the word I. But I found a gap in a company I worked for where we had a portfolio of products, but we didn't have a great way to show the portfolio. It was like you had to do 7 different demos to look at 7 different solutions, right? And it just took forever. It didn't work very well. I created a portfolio review demo, which basically was the first time anybody took all of these platform pieces and put them together in one, 45-minute thing. This was wildly successful. It closed a ton of revenue. And I was able to say, what I would start with is I would start with the problem, acknowledge the problem statement. We didn't have a portfolio review. I built one and it closed this much revenue and it shortened sales cycles by 20%. So you can say something like state the problem first, and then insert your sort of solution to it, and then insert the result of that solution. It sounds a little less braggy. It's more storytelling. And that's how I had to trick my brain into like talking about my own work.
Yeah. I have something to say about that, but I noticed Karthik is back. Do you want to comment?
No, I think Chris put it very well, right? So I think it's okay to if any message feels self-congratulatory, right? And I think as SEs, sometimes we deserve that as well because a lot of people they go down the rabbit hole of thinking, am I bragging too much or am I probably being too uh, braggy about it, right? But I think sometimes it's okay. Like Chris said, that I should come out a lot of times as well. So I think Chris summed it up very well.
Mhm.
So, I mean, if
Okay.
you are always thinking twice about doing something, or especially in terms of uh, sharing any win, I would say just cut that thought down and just go share your win.
Okay, yeah. I have a comment that might be a little bit controversial, but I'll put it out there. I think women especially have a tendency to be self-deprecating and want to pass recognition in an effort to be humble. So I think it's very important to acknowledge the unique things that each person brought to it. Yes, you're thanking the team and you're talking about how everyone contributed, but everyone includes you, right? And so we can talk about what is the part that we played and be proud of that. And if we think of it in a way as how it will help someone else do the same, then it's not so much about, boasting yourself as trying to help someone else's career. So I always try to think of it that way. Why should someone else go through the lessons learned that I did if I can just talk to them about it and they can apply it to their future? So anyone else have a comment on that?
My comment, I mean, I feel super strongly on this, Miriam, is like you're 100% right. And anytime, I mean, I've worked with, I think women in solutions engineering are just, I've always worked with people who are women who are much smarter and better than I am at this job, because I think every call you're on is different. Every time you're challenged with different questions, every time you're challenged with a new level of expectancies. And so anytime I have like people on my team, women on my team, I'm like, no, I need to help you tell your story. So we go through that. I think that's a real thing, Miriam, and it's really important to call it out in this setting. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, it's part of how we were often brought up, but it's okay to use that, right? You can be nice and you can be warm and you can be inclusive and collaborative, but still take some credit for how you contributed to that. So, okay, so let's talk about how we can help other team members. No, sorry. Let's talk about what advice we would give to someone who feels kind of invisible at work, but doesn't really know how to self-promote in the right way. Should they be relying on their manager to do that? How should they do that? And Logan, I guess we'll go to you.
Yeah, I think the managers definitely play a part, but there's also ownership that person can take. So a couple different tactics. I think for somebody who feels invisible at work, doesn't want to self-promote in a loud way, you can observe and find people who naturally champion others, and then find a way to contribute to that person's goals. So as Chris was saying, solve a problem. So what problem does that person need to solve? Help them solve it, and it's a win-win because they'll likely start championing you, talking about the great work that you did. And so that's a win-win. And I would also openly discuss with your manager, how to best share or promote your work in a way that's comfortable. So maybe it's writing a monthly recap to your manager, and the manager can share that with others when it's relevant. Or maybe it's a manager inviting you to present work at a company town hall. I think people often think that introverts don't necessarily like to present, but that might not be the case. So really just talking with your manager on what might work best for you, especially if you are a bit more introverted or shy away from sharing information in a loud way. Sometimes you just need that tee up. Maybe you're not comfortable speaking about your achievement on the fly, but if you're invited to present or invited to share or asked to share, that could actually be a really comfortable way for you to share your wins. So a variety of different ways, but explore what's comfortable for you, and definitely lean on others to help support that.
Okay. And Karthik, I know you have an interesting perspective on this. It's a little different, so let's hear from you.
Yeah, so I personally believe that everyone owns their personal branding, right? So you cannot depend on anyone to probably advocate for you. Of course, there will be good people and managers who actually help you out. But think about this scenario, right? Your manager might also have 5 or 6 other teammates along with you that they will have to advocate for, right? Or probably 2 or 3 more star performers that they'll have to talk about. So only if you do your personal branding well internally and externally will the actual advocacy from your manager be more effective, right? So let's take this scenario, right? So when your manager talks to his manager or his or her manager, what if your super boss tells about the awesome work that you've done, a great work that you've done, that they got to know when you had shared that story to your manager? And that is something that would actually add more ammunition to your manager when they are building your brand. So I always feel that you own your brand irrespective of who is helping you or who's not helping you. Don't rely on anyone. Just, I mean, it's your career, it's in your hands, right? So is your personal brand.
Yeah,
Chris?
that's a good hot take there, Karthik, and I agree with both of you. And I think what we're defining here is there's a big difference between managers and leaders. Miriam, the way you talked about adding Slack channels for your people where you're sharing those wins, that is leadership. That is not just management. And there's a huge difference. And I want to speak to those people who are on here or listening to the recording who are like, man, Logan, that sounds great, but my manager's not gonna do that for me, right? And I've been there too. Luckily, I've worked for some leadership style managers who were able to help me. If you're in a spot where your manager is not the person you can turn to for this, there likely is somebody in the organization that has those leadership traits that's willing to work through it. So find somebody who's doing this really well and pick their brain. Literally just find somebody in the company who's like, maybe they're not even as good at their job, but they're really good about telling their story. Just take 15 minutes with them and say, like, look, here's my document of my work. I need to frame this in a better way. Um, find help. Don't rely on your manager. And definitely just start today. Start literally right now by writing up a LinkedIn post or writing an internal message that says, I attended the Career Navigator Summit with PreSales Collective. And Logan and Karthik and Miriam were so smart. Chris is okay. You know, like tag people and start telling your story. Tell people about your efforts because your efforts are going to tell your story for you. You're not bragging, right? But don't wait, like start right now.
I love this conversation because when we were talking about it in the prep, I was like, well, that's your manager's job to help you do that. And the other team members were like, a lot of managers won't do that.
Yeah.
So they have to own it themselves. We had a little controversy going on, right? So, yes, I mean, we all need to find mentors or leaders who can help us in our careers, but we have to own it. So, it's a combination. I think. But I mean, of course, it's much nicer if someone else says great things about you. It feels better than if you say it yourself. I know when I was doing thank you notes from interviews, I took quotes off my LinkedIn page recommendations to say, here's, how others have corroborated what I'm saying about myself. So it's great to use that if you have it, but we have to own it ourselves as well.
And use communities like PreSales Collective, like the pre-sales
100%.
space. It's a small world. Yes, there's a lot of us, but use these people outside of your company to help you. It doesn't have to be somebody you work with. There's amazing people in the chat you can reach out to and say like, hey, I saw that you were at the summit with me. I want to walk through this exercise with you. Would it be helpful? You never know, and you're going to get a ton of responses.
Yeah, and this seems like a hot topic with people because there's a lot of information coming in the chat. Sorry, I don't really have a opportunity to read it all or respond, but just keep reaching out to people either internally or externally, and also document and keep track for yourself, and you'll have a good list for promoting yourself. Okay. Well, a little bit of a shift here. The subtitle of this summit is Future-Proof Your Pre-Sales Career in an AI-Driven Market. So I want to kind of tie in to this AI theme. I know AI is changing our roles just dramatically and faster than ever. So how do you maintain confidence that you're adding value when there are so many unknowns and new technologies, and a lot of the old patterns we use in pre-sales aren't really that relevant anymore? Logan, what do you think about that?
I think with all of the new technology, I heard something that any skills you learn are going to be irrelevant or needing enhancement within perhaps 6 months. But I would say it's still a value during that 6 months to learn. So I would say be curious, be an experimenter, figure things out and show others how what's new or those new patterns, how they can add value. Because where you lean in and where others aren't leaning in, that's where you can get an edge to stay ahead as things are currently changing. So just dive into new technologies, get curious about them.
Karthik?
Perfect. So, what Logan said is something that I would start with, right? Start learning new technologies, right? As SEs, I know we are always at the cusp of new technologies. So, picking that would be one good way to probably foolproof ourselves. But I've always thought about this, right? As SEs, we've always been in sort of an evolution. Our roles have been changed continuously one way or the other, right? And if you also actually think about it, the value that we bring in has always been in question. How do we bring in value? And all of that has always been in conversation, right? So I feel this is something that is not very new to solution engineers or pre-sales, is what I feel. And as always, I feel we will also sail this through as pre-sales engineers as well, because we've always been through that as part of that evolution, right? But one thing that I would reiterate is what Logan said: keep learning new technologies. And as pre-sales, we also have certain core skills that are more specific to human, like storytelling, the value that we provide, the relationship that we bring in. So that is something that I see that will not change. And if you probably can scale up on the technology front, I think we will all do okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think we're perfectly poised to embrace this because SEs are curious and are always learning the new things. We're always the first one promoting
Right.
new products of a company. So just keep doing that. Think about how it affects all of our cross-functional partners, and remember that everyone's in the same boat. So, we're just as knowledgeable or more as the next person down the line. So I think we can hold on to that. And Chris, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, you know what I'm doing? I mean, I'm learning a lot about AI, and Reprise is like AI leading tech. And so we're heavily invested in AI. But what I'm actually doing as well is I'm doubling down on everything human in person. So what I'm doing is I'm saving time using AI, and I'm spending that time with people in real life, so that we can drive like authentic connection. And I think that is where our careers are going. So I think sellers will become more like SEs. SEs will have to learn more broadly about, our platform's products and sales, but it also gives us the opportunity to hit the road. And so I'm going everywhere. I'm going to Philly this week. I've been on the road almost every week, and it's been super, super refreshing to connect with people.
I like
That's
That's a good
driving
share,
that.
Chris.
Say again? I think that's super cool. And the idea that we can actually work on the more human part or the nuanced part of whatever the question or problem or challenge is really exciting, right? Some of the main mundane aspects will fall away and we'll get to focus on the part that's really meaningful and can forge a relationship between us and our prospects and customers.
You got it. I
Yeah,
mean,
Chris, I like
a demo is not a presentation, it's a process. It's a process you go through with people. Okay. And that process is very human focused, right? And that's like the beauty and the craft of our whole profession. So
Yeah.
let's just get better at that.
Right. I think the whole profession has shifted from being a product expert to promoting value, understanding the user's challenge and providing value to it. And that's really the fun part. So,
Yeah, and Chris, I like how you're driving that in-person authentic connection. I don't know if anyone else has seen this quote circulating around LinkedIn. I think it was something Mark Cuban said regarding AI, how in a number of years that's going to get so amplified that we're not going to know what's real or what's not, and that the in-person connection is really going to be critical, and that we're going to end up gravitating more towards that in-person connection. So I
yeah.
think you're ahead of the curve and already leaning in on that.
Well,
I
I
think
I
we're
heard
almost
another
there,
quote
Logan.
too, and they said, why is AI creating art and not folding my laundry for me? Right? And I agree. It's like let's let the humans create the art and let's let AI do the laundry. And I think of pre-sales in the same way. We're integrating AI to solve workflow problems so that we can go do the art of connecting.
Fantastic, yeah.
That's great because relationships are not able to be formed with AI, and that's what makes things real and helps companies really change culture. So, okay, so let's talk about what is the one call to action or key takeaway that you want our listeners to walk away from this session with. Let's start with Chris. Shake it up.
I would say don't wait. Connect with people inside or outside your organization through communities like PSC and through in-person events, and stay curious.
Yeah.
That's it. Like
Okay.
connect and stay curious.
Logan?
I would say my call to action suggestion is to create a thought leadership style LinkedIn post. Combine something you're really knowledgeable about, your interests, with your goal of the type of industry in terms of where you want to work. One of the most impactful books that I've read is The Medici Effect: Breakthrough Insights at the Intersection of Ideas, Concepts, and Cultures. So it's that intersection that creates a lot of new ideas and impact. So if you are reading about different industry insights, and then you can connect that with your particular experience in a field or just interests that you have in terms of hobbies that you're engaged with, and can create that insightful thought leadership post, add some hashtags, that could be ways to get you noticed and just build your personal brand, getting comfortable telling stories, whether in written form, video, audio, you can use voice video. So that would be my call to action there.
Great. Another good book to read. Thanks. Karthik?
Yeah, mine is probably, one of my takeaways probably is an extension to Chris, right? Don't wait, just get started. So there are a lot of times when we always keep thinking about should I do it or should I not, especially when it comes to talking about ourselves or putting out our accomplishments. So just get started, don't think too much, you'll figure it out along the way. And the second thing is what Miriam, you did with the Slack channel. I think Abik mentioned about collecting in the chat about the performance reviews. Natalie was talking about the brag document, right? So if you don't know what to post or what to share, then probably it's a good time for you to start retrospecting, right? Because we as humans, we tend to overestimate our memory. there might be really good and fantastic things that we might have accomplished that might be lost in time. So just sit down, put that brag document or whatever document you call it, just have a list of your accomplishments and just get started there, and that momentum should get you going, hopefully. Yeah.
And it'll make you feel better also, because you look at it and you go, oh,
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
did do a lot of really good things. It's like people talk about writing down 3 things they're grateful for every day. Changes your attitude to be
Right.
one of gratitude. So my takeaway, I'm the leader, so I get to give one as well. Develop that personal value prop. It helped me get my jobs the last couple of years. So just summarize what you are uniquely good at. It'll make you feel better about yourself, and it'll help you in your career. And then believe in yourself. You do great work. It's okay to talk about it. In fact, it's imperative to talk about it. So just the more you believe in yourself, the more others will see that as well. So thank you so much for joining this session. We're right at the top of the hour, so I'm going to pass it back to you, Courtney.
Incredible start to the day. I felt the love and the support in the chat, the love and the support from this panel. So many incredible insights, actionable insights that you can take right away and start using. Thank you, Chris, Miriam, Logan, and Karthik. That was just a fantastic start to the Career Navigator Summit.